Hi and greetings. Welcome to another episode of Crime Page by Botany Does It. Today I'm coming to you from sunny South Florida. Okay, I woke up in Miami, which didn't feel too good. It's just kind of a giant, I don't know, metropolitan area, automobile slum, retail cesspool. Not unlike many other places in the United States, not unlike most of the United States. But we won't talk about any of that anymore here. You can see this guy's just hanging out, chilling on the banks of this canal, deep within the swamp in the thicket, a little bit north of Everglades National Park. You can see the dominant species here, of course, are that Taxodium over there, leafless, the bald cypress, thus giving it its name. How it's bald, it's just deciduous, fully drops its needles relative to redwood trees. You got a Sabal Palmetto, known as colloquially as the Cabbage Palm. You got a Lysoloma right there, member of the legume family, the mimosa subfamily. Well, anyway, we're going to take a little look and see what else we can find. But let's see if we can consult Larry first over here. Sir, can I ask you a question or two? Now, I wanted to know, if I were to give you a snow cone and a birthday hat, would you be receptive to that? Would you be offended? How would you take it? You're a little small to eat that. What's laying on it? You can see they come through and they mulch this general area, just giving them kind of a nice bed. See, that they always do that. They don't let you get close, okay? Unless you got like a small terrier to give them or something, or preferably a feral cat, they're not going to let you get close to them. People are so spooked by these things. You definitely have to exercise caution, but we did destroy most of their habitats, so they're doing fine. Oh, they find every once in a while they find a golfer or something. Just kidding. I wish. I mean, look at it. You can see when they mowed the right of way here, they just threw the Chrysobalanus down there. We should talk about that too, known colloquially as the cocoa plum. Chrysobalanus is that species right there. Chrysobalanaceae, order Malpighiales, same order as willows and poinsettias right there. So anyway, moving right along, let's see what else we got going on. Okay, so you can see right here we got the limestone bedrock. This, of course, has all been dumped, but it was locally sourced limestone, all dumped to make this this road that shouldn't even be here, really. I mean, it kind of blows my mind how did they go about building these roads, because it is, as you can see, it is just all basically swamp. So who do we got? Where's a bird hanging out over there? I don't know where it went. Anyway, so you can see Taxodium disticum just covered in a handful of Tillandsia species. Is that fasciculata or what? Those things that are pendant, just drooping off there, those are the microstrobili. Those are basically the old pendant pollen cones of this Taxodium. So just left over from after releasing that windborne pollen. They should leaf out here in a month or two. Relatives of redwoods. Anyway, you could see all that Tillandsia fasciculata just covering those. Is that cypress or no? No, that's not cypress. That's not Taxodium. A handful of bromeliads, though. Look at it. I'm catching a dog side-eye vibe here. So skeptical. Look at that, a Baccharis species, largest genus in Asteraceae, the sunflower family, the coyote bushes, Baccharis halimifolia. No, those leaves anywhere. There's Baccharis all over the North and South America. And of course we have Ficus aurea too, the strangler fig, a native fig. But there's a lot of invasive species in that genus too that have been planted as part of the paradise delusion that the people in South Florida who have no context for ecology kind of like to perpetuate, planting shit like non-native palms. Despite all the cool native ones we have, they plant non-native ones that they think are emblematic of paradise. Now, as the compound urushiol tends to do, it tends to oxidize as it turns black. You can see on what is basically a giant tree of a highly allergenic plant in the poison ivy family, Metopium toxiferum. You could see when it came through to basically masticate on the side of the road, keep a line. They chopped off some of this poison wood, as it's colloquially known, and you could see it just started bleeding. See that? It's just bleeding like a sieve. Just highly allergenic compound everywhere. Now, of course, urushiol is found in about 1/3 of the plants in Anacardiaceae, the mango, cashew, and poison oak family, but it didn't evolve for anything having to do with humans or even mammals. It basically has antifungal compounds. So it just happens to be allergenic in most people. But of course, you know, what is it, like a quarter, 40% of the population isn't allergic to urushiol and all. But that is basically a giant potential ass rash waiting to happen. You can see, just stepping off the road, we're on solid ground. Okay, we got the bedrock being exposed right there. You can see it's just limestone, relatively young limestone too. I'm used to Cretaceous limestone. This is like Pleistocene limestone. All right, maybe a little older, maybe no older than 3 million years for sure. Now, with me to explain what we're looking at, one of my favorite Cubans in Miami, we got our friend Lydia. Lydia, what is this? What are we doing right now? Where's this?
Right now, I'm peeling off the bark of a tree we call the tourist tree because it burns and it peels, but this is a Bursera cimaruba.
Oh, tourists, like you get some of these pinkies coming from northerly lands, don't get much sun, they come down here, they burn.
Yeah, so that's how we gave it this common name of the tourist tree.
Tourist tree, Bursera cimaruba, frankincense family, related to some of the Bursera people might know, you know, in Mexico. Like the, also known as the elephant tree out there. So what is this landscape? What are we on now? Because we were just looking at swamps and alligators and stuff, and now we're on solid ground. What's going on?
Now we're a little bit more upland. The soil is developing here because there's a hardwood hammock, a forest ecosystem that has a lot of leaf litter dropping, and that creates the soil on top of the limestone. And you get broadleaf trees here like the oaks, and you get lancewood and Bursera, the gumbo limbo.
But I mean, when you say upland, I mean it's like a foot or two upland. It's not that
under
high.
A foot. Even sometimes the soil is very shallow.
Does this ever flood? This stuff?
Maybe not. I don't think it would flood. The soil would get pretty moist. I don't think it would flood.
So we say upland, but we're not really that. Oh, nice smilax. Look at that. Vine, such a distinct leaf shape. So we say upland, but it's not really an upland. I mean, we're talking about a matter of feet or degrees. But I mean, you could see that the ground is really just a mishmash of bedrock and roots, and then the occasional sink where it just, you actually do get the inundation. Cool native species of snail, ligulous tree snail. You can see that guy's just posted up. So that's what they do. They post up. They secrete a bunch of snot, and and then it just kind of seals them in. You know, like snot. Like say you get like a medical bill and you blow your nose in it because you have no intention of paying it, and it just turns into like a kind of like a hard wax. That's what they do basically. So they just kind of seal themselves in, go dormant, and wait for the rains to come. Winter's kind of the dry season here. See, there's one. This guy died. There's an invasive flatworm that's taking him out. So it's kind of a bummer. It's from, I think it's from New Guinea. Up here where you can see we're a little bit higher, you got the pines. Okay, so there's we're still only a foot or two above the cypress areas, but it is, you can see it is dry, and we do get the pines. So anyway, right here you can see we got the genus Melanthera, which is Asteraceae. A rather notable one too. Those pollen presenters have not yet popped out. Oh, they did around the margins. You could see they're kind of bending out into a Y shape, but you still got those black anther tubes. You can see the palea too. The receptacular bracts, those little pink bracts right there. Whole thing almost looking like an umbel. Almost looks like a buckwheat from far away. Flip it over, you can see the phyllaries right there. Those involucral bracts. You got scabbard stem too. Scales all up and down the stem and with the shit, and where the leaves. You can see right there. Lanceolate leaves opposite. This member of the cannabis family right here almost looks like a hackberry, like a Celtis, but it's in the genus Trema. Very scabbard leaves. Trema micrantha. Very scabbard. Feels like sandpaper, those leaves. Look at that. Alternate. Look at the petiole. All right, and all that pinus dense in the background, the cabbage palm, the Sabal palmetto, and of course, we got a nice terrestrial orchid right here, Bledia purpurea. You can see these are already done. Those flowers have already gone off. Perhaps cleistogamous, all right, because you can see this flower. These flowers are not opening. These are about to open, so typical, raceme maturing from the bottom from that stem up, bottom of the rachis up. See, these haven't even opened yet. But and then of course there are the ovaries. They've already gone off, so they've already been pollinated, already swelling. The ovaries, the fruit's almost done. So nice inferior ovary. But yeah, this guy. What happens if you open it? Is it just pollinating itself, or is it waiting for a little bit more warmth from the day to open up, or what? Now here we got a species in the genus Samalis, which is Primulaceae, which this genus I am not familiar with. But look at those leaves, waxy, glaucous. Look at that. And then there's those tiny flowers. Just banger, nice panicle of tiny flowers. Tiny white 5-petal flowers. 5 distinct petals. You get your green sepals back there, green calyx. I bet this gets inundated, right? Huh? Seems a little high and dry now, but oh, look at it. Who's that guy? What's he doing? He's going for that camp over there. Going for that melanthera. So, you know, I say it's dry upland, but the ground is still saturated. It's still wet. It's basically wet sand. But we got a cool native iris species here. Cicerynchium is this genus. You can see those 6 purple tepals. And then, of course, there's those 3 stamens. And right inside there, if you could just barely see it, is a little hair-like stigma, which is receptive to pollen. You can see hairs and glands on that ovary. So we got the inundated soils, and of course, they're nutrient poor, fast, well, not too fast draining sand. You got the limestone bedrock under there. And we are only about 5 feet above sea level. And of course, you got a species of Utricularia compensating for the nitrogen deficiency in the soil by using bladders deep within that soil, well, a couple inches down, to trap little arthropods. Get them in there. And then, of course, there's the flower with that nectar spur. Looks like somebody cut this one open. One of them damn bees, leaf cutter bees or some, who knows. But there's that nectar spur, which, of course, is what's luring the pollinators in the first place. Got a nice lobelia glandulosum. All right, zygomorphic perianth. And then you look inside and you can see that little pollen presenter. So diagnostic for the Lobelioideae, the lobelia subfamily. Of the bellflower family Campanulaceae, Asteraceae is the damn order. Asterales is the order, excuse me. The sunflower order. And most of them tend to have some sort of damn secondary pollen presentation thing going on. Most of the families in that order. Blue sky in a pinus densa. It's so nice. Anyway, look at it. Here we go. Another Utricularia purpurea. Where's the little nectar spur on this guy, though? Huh? Oh, Louie's drinking from the swamp. Oh, my God. Can you see it in there? No, not really. Anyway, but here's the actual plant. You can see the bladders in there. You see the bladder traps? The flower's done. Kind of weird, though. So just creeping along this inundated soil. Iconic Florida landscape. It's so weird just to see any wildlands because I know so much of it's been developed. I have to expect to see like a couple geriatrics driving by in a golf cart getting chased by a naked tweaker trying to eat their faces off. I don't know. That's just what I picture personally. Anyway, we got a pretty interesting species here. Species of spurge. So Euphorbiaceae is the family, and Euphorbia is the genus. And there's the flowers, those beautiful blood red flowers. Really easy to overlook this guy, as with many of the spurges. You can see that three-lobed style. Glabrous as hell, but a blood red flower. Cute little bastard. Euphorbia hammeri, after Roger Hammer. Look at that beautiful bark on a Pinus densa. Look at that. God damn, that's nice, huh? Oh, shit. I just wish there was more appreciation for this habitat among locals. But that's kind of the case everywhere, especially in the east. Anyway, really cool species of Heliotropium right here. Heliotropium polyphyllum. So Boraginaceae is the family there. You can see those scorpioid cymes. You can see those stiff little hairs on those somewhat imbricate leaves. And you can see those goddamn undulating petals on that corolla right there. On the scorpioid cyme, almost looking like a lithospermum. Dainty little bastard. Okay, so supposedly the word is with the cabbage palms, the reason that they're so abundant now is because, black bears have largely been extirpated from down here. The black bears used to actually tear them apart trying to get the heart of palm. And since they're not around anymore, the control for them is gone. They're a native, but they can be somewhat aggressive and overtake stuff, as you can see. Anyway, Crotalaria rotundifolia is this guy down here, this little yellow pea. There's quite a few invasive Crotalarias. This one's native. And again, that species is rotundifolia. And here we go. It's kind of, it wasn't, I should have been expecting to see this here. One of the worst invasives of South Florida, Melaleuca kinkonervis, same genus as tea tree, and a really important genus where it's native, but here it just forms these somewhat impenetrable thickets and is incredibly hard to get rid of. So anyway, Myrtaceae is the family there, eucalyptus family, guava family, and you can see it's got those hairy stems. Common plant, we might as well mention it here, Myrica cerifera. Now it's in the genus Morella. Order is oaks, phagales. Some of them have nitrogen-fixing bacteria, actinomycete bacteria in the roots. And families Arecaceae, order is, again, phagales. Almost looks like an oak, but Comptonia peregrina, one of my favorite northern species, is in the same family, Arecaceae. Here we go, Oxypilus filiformis, nice native carrot. You can see that compound umbel, those tiny flowers. If you were to look at them with a hand, let's give them a nice rectal exam, you'd see the stylopodium. As well as that bicarpellate ovary. See, there's the fruits right there. Just a little green flake. You can still see the stylopodium on top of it. Here we go, hiding beneath this Sabal. We got a species in the mint family in the genus Physostegia. The obedient plants is the common name calls them. Look inside that zygomorphic flower. Look at those 4 anthers. Look at that. 4 anthers and then that little bifid style coming down. Bifid stigma is a good giveaway for mint family Lamiaceae. And of course, like members of Lamiales, you got those, most members of Lamiales, you got those opposite leaves. And so a somewhat square stem. The important distinction between two of the dominant palm species here, you got Sabal, Palmetto, thick trunk back there, and then here is Serenoa repens, which you rarely see growing up like this. Probably the cause of that is fire suppression, but Serenoa repens, of course, tends to grow prostrate along the ground. Saw palmetto, they call it, because it has these, as you can see, those teeth along the margin of those petioles right there. Also, that petiole on the saw palmetto on a Serenoa doesn't extend into the leaf blade, into that fan-shaped leaf blade, and on the Sabal, it does. You can see different species. See that petiole forms like a little arrow point and extends into the whole fan-shaped leaf blade? There you go. Easy distinction, because sometimes the saw palmetto, you can see the petioles won't have the saws on them. They won't have that serrated margin. See that? A little ways up the road, we got another species of Baccharis. Again, one of the 500 species, most species-rich genus in Asteraceae. Baccharis glomerula flora. Fucking spit that out. Say that 5 times. Look at the stems on these. Extremely glabrous. Looks like it's got some sort of mealy or scale or something. Striated stems. Almost holly-like leaves. Look at the distal end of those leaves. They get like 3 little horns on them. And then you got some snails hanging out too. And it's just covered, slowly getting covered in Cassitha, member of Lauraceae, the avocado family. A parasitic, but it can also photosynthesize on its own. But it's going to steal from its neighbors like this Baccharis. A parasitic member of the avocado family Lauraceae. Again, the genus Cassitha, which you also get, I think you get it in most tropical areas. I think, is it pantropical? Is it pantropical? Cassitha, cool genus, cool parasite, easy to confuse with dodder, which is unrelated, in the genus Cuscuta. God damn, look at this Cicerynchium. Look at that, a big bunch of them. How would that be? Wouldn't it be nice to see that in somebody's yard? Or even in one of these terrible shopping centers? There's like 9 million of them down here in Florida. You know, wouldn't you love to see that? God damn. Whole bunch of native iris. Yeah, that Taxodium ascendens, one of 3 species. Some pricks might try to say they're all lumped into the same species, but that would be obscuring a story if you just relegate them to a variety, right? Especially, you know what really drives me nuts about the Taxodium? The one in Central Texas is very obviously mucronatum, but people just still call it disticum because that's just what the literature says. You know, the literature says, despite the extreme affinities and habitat with Mexico and the Mexican populations. Anyway, Taxodium ascendens, aka the pond cypress. Look at that foliage. See how it doesn't spread out like disticum does? It just kind of stays oppressed and somewhat imbricate and tight, you know, forming like, almost looks like a little rope. And notable about this habitat, okay, you'd think it's drier because there's not as many trees, but it's still inundated. So even when we say dry uplands down here in South Florida, it's still pretty water saturated. The water table is still pretty close to the surface. So nothing really fully dries out except those pine rocklands that are indeed elevated, elevated a few feet and are just bare rock. But look at it. Dominated by Pinus Eliadii and Taxodium ascendens, Taxodium disticum, and a handful of grasses, all of which must be able to tolerate inundation. So you got inundation. It's inundated. Okay, like you got to call a roofer, call a plumber, get them out here to fix that. So this is a cosmopolitan species of sedge, genus Schenus. It's cosmopolitan, which means it's real cultured. Have been all around the block. You know, this is. I mean, you're not gonna meet a fancy bastard like this. All right, well known amongst all. You know, a jet setter, not someone you want to rob. Well, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, there you go. There's those stigmas that epistolate the female parts of the individual flowers poking out. Look at that. So that whole thing's the inflorescence with the nice bracts. So supposedly you don't get ticks out here because, you know, it gets inundated. It gets inundation. Look at that. Coming up just beneath this Taxodium ascendens, you get a species of Elenium. Seems a little early for it, huh? Turn it. See, you can see those phyllaries. Turn it over. Look at the phyllaries. Rather tall. 3 feet, 3 feet tall. There's the basal rosette down there. How about that? There we go. There's a full-grown specimen of Melaleuca. You can see how this just naturalizes so well. It can be invasive as hell, forms an almost impenetrable thicket you can't even walk through. See, this is when, you know, the permaculture hippies, no offense to them, kind of start to get on me because they're totally against herbicide. You need herbicide. This is a fire-adapted species from the fire-adapted landscape of Australia. So it's gained the ability to stump sprout. So what you got to do is you got to cut it and spot treat it. All right? There's just no other way. There's those woody capsules. Melaleuca is known for having indeterminate inflorescences. So these were flowers at one point, and then the shoot didn't stop there. It just kept growing. Very important tree where it's native. Here, it's a pest. It's a sex pest. Yeah, they got python hunts out here. Get a couple rednecks, just give them a couple pallets of beer, you know, some firearms, just let them go at it, you know, because pythons are invasive too. Brought over in some nerd's aquarium. Well-intentioned to be released, you know, by someone who just didn't know any better, didn't understand how ecosystems work, didn't understand how bad the problem could get. Same case with the iguanas that you see all over the viaducts and creeks and with the shit. Anyway, here we go. Native species of Amaryllis in the Amaryllis family. Amaryllidaceae. This is a species of Hymenocallis, probably Hymenocallis palmeri. These are the sepals right here. These long appendages. Look at those juicy banana anthers. Look at that. And then these are the petals, fused petals, okay, fused at the base, all right, which is a big difference between Hymenocallis and the lookalikes and related species, Crinum. See, right where the Hymenocallis was, we got the Everglades crabgrass, Digitaria pauciflora, okay? Now, I still haven't gotten into grasses, but one day I will, you know, when I'm old and there's not much left to live for, and, you know, I'm ready to kick the bucket. I'll start getting into grasses, and then I'll make sure everybody knows how I'm into grasses. Anyway, let's highlight it anyway because it is an endemic. Okay, really, it is, you know, for a grass, it is beautiful. I much prefer this over any of the lawns out there. So anyway, Digitaria is the genus of crabgrasses, and of course we are at the northern extent of the Everglades. So there you go. That dedication. See, invasive species removal. All right, this is this man's job. He does, you know, this is his day job, but he's out here in his free time making sure that Melaleuca, that invasive Melaleuca, doesn't live another day. But really what you'd have to do is you'd have to come out here and spray with herbicide. I understand when people shit on herbicide. You got to use it, okay? It's about using it wisely and not needlessly. But some of these fucks treat it like it's depleted uranium. Listen, man, we're not about wholesale wanton use of herbicide, but, you know, the reality is, the alternative is just letting the landscape go and be choked out by the invasives. Sure, they'll naturalize and become part of the ecosystem and balanced out, you know, in 500,000 to 1 million years maybe. But how many species will go extinct during that time because of their presence here and how they smother everything and form monoculture, huh? Jackass? Okay, I'm a big fan of cyanobacteria and this stuff that looks like, you know, old bean and rice puke. You ever see like an old wino, you know, throws up on the pavement and it's like beans and rice, which is a really easy food to eat, especially, you know, if you're an alcoholic. You know, and then once it dries, you kind of get this you know, you get this look to it. This is a paraphyton. This is actually a cyanobacteria, one of the quote-unquote blue-green algae, but they're actually photosynthetic bacteria. You can see the blue-green right there. Probably fixing nitrogen, helping, well, they form a nice mat over the soil to, you know, basically keep nutrients in the soil, hold it together. But you can see just how extensive they are. I mean, they're everywhere. And here we go. Nice native member of the genus of avocado. The genus Bursera. Lauraceae is the family. Another one of those basal angiosperm families. More towards the base of the angiosperm family tree. That is. The magnoliids. I don't know if I would call it basal, but close enough. Anyway, Bursera palustris. Just like avocado. Looks like you got a leaf miner was going in there having a field day. But a lot of them are succumbing to an invasive fungus. Well, a fungus that's spread by an invasive beetle, unfortunately. But the genus, again, Bursera, the genus of avocado. Lauraceae, the bay tree family. And this thing's nuts. Corchorus silicuosus. All right, because it's got what look like siliques. Really weird fruit for this family, which is Malvaceae. Look at those leaves, see the margins, and then here are those flowers. All right, pretty a weedy native. So a very ubiquitous native plant. Look at that. It's a malvaceous flower. It's a cotton family flower. Look at all those stamens. Look at that central style. That is so bizarre. So bizarre to see this kind of fruit style on a malvid, on a member of the cotton family.